everybody. Karen Dopey here for Tech Republic and ZDNet. Glad to be joined today by Jim Zeffaletti. He is the CEO and co-founder of Safeguard Cyber, and also Amanda Tucker, the Chief Risk and Compliance Officer for Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group. Thanks to both of you for being here with us today. You know, as we're all working from home here in our own settings, which is a challenge in and of itself. And we're going to talk a little bit about today here when it comes to security with our employees and using different communication platforms now that we all are, the majority of us, working from home. That can open us up to incredible risk. Companies, especially so many small businesses that aren't prepared for this type of situation. And Jim, I know you guys work with companies of all sizes. Talk a little bit about your concerns right now with companies using different communication platforms. Say, for instance, WhatsApp. It's cheap, it's pretty simple, and a lot of employees are turning to that and other platforms. So talk about your concerns.
Yeah, sure, Karen. Thanks for the opportunity to be on today. Yeah, at Safeguard Cyber, we're seeing a explosion in these new communication channels that are driving the digital economy. And you mentioned one of the big ones, WhatsApp. WeChat is another one, other social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, as well as collaboration channels. And you hear about, for example, Microsoft Teams and Slack. These are all platforms that have become increasingly important for the way that people are conducting business. And in this current COVID-19 dynamic, they've gone from being kind of important business tools to essential business platforms that people must use every day. And with that adoption comes a whole lot of responsibility that companies face in terms of securing and mitigating the risks on those platforms.
Most definitely. And you guys work, of course, with Atlantic Bay and the Mortgage Group. Amanda, talk a little bit about how your employees are, because we talked off camera that about 95% of your employees are working remote now. So talk a little bit about the ways that they're using social media, for what reasons besides the obvious, and how that can present, security concerns.
Sure. So we have always been a company that has been forward thinking and forward utilization of social media channels. So Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and a few others that I am learning about each day. But how we interact with consumers, with our borrowers, and really with each other has very much so changed in the last 5 weeks. So our focus has been less on, the mortgage industry and advertising, our brand and really kind of this new environment that we all find ourselves in. A lot of our mortgage bankers engage with their clientele through social media. And so in working with Safeguard Cyber, we've always utilized it for digital risk monitoring, more so in the regulatory space, but with the industry and the rapidly evolving nature of what's going on within the mortgage industry, as well as COVID-19, it really caused us to step back and take a look at where is that risk? How can we arm our employees for both their internal collaboration channel and external social media engagement so that we're being mindful of what we say to protect the brand, but also with the end user, our consumer, in mind.
And I think that's, an interesting point. Companies can monitor to a certain extent, what's being said or what's being put out there. And it's important to have good partnerships. And I know, Jim, we've talked about this, the partnership that you have, with your clients and specifically with Atlantic Bay here. Talk a little bit about what you're doing right now in the midst of this pandemic with your clients. What are you telling them? How can they best help arm their employees to make sure they're not opening the company up to, a massive risk here?
Yeah, one of the things that we're doing in the current moment right now is trying to stay close to the customer and clients and even potential clients in understanding that the way that they're doing business, which channels they're using, is changing rapidly. and in many cases, organizations don't even have visibility throughout the organization about what people are adopting. And so, we're on this mission to raise awareness for these enterprise leaders and saying, hey, in this current environment, you've got people who are adopting all these different channels. You've got to be mindful about it, and you've got to make sure you secure it. So it's a lot of it's about raising awareness. And then the second component is trying to stay ahead of the risks as they emerge, whether it's disinformation or malicious content or potential regulatory interpretations, so that we can share them with our customers and partners.
And when you talk about, Jim, about companies, employees being aware, how aware do you feel like, say, small businesses, for example, how do you think that they really understand, just how significant the risk can be if they're not out in front of it?
A lot of cases with small businesses, they learn about this after they've had damage that's already done. We're in a moment when this is a well understood risk area, particularly for organizations like Atlantic Bay. But in the case of smaller businesses, I think they're just coming online and learning to understand it and how to deal with it.
Yeah, most definitely. And Amanda, when you all talk with your employees as they're lenders and whomever they're talking with, sometimes I think we all, not just with your employees, but anyone, when we're on social media, sometimes our own personal beliefs or feelings, creep into our posts, whether we're on the clock or not. How difficult is that to balance that with people, with wanting them to be able to express their views and to communicate in this new way of communicating, yet keeping in mind that it could be a negative reflection on you guys as a whole?
Sure. So, I mean, it is absolutely a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge for all of us to be more mindful of how we are interacting, how, even the briefest comment, post, video, thought, share could be perceived, especially I think in the current environment where all of our sensitivities and anxiety is heightened. And so one of the things that we've done is we've partnered our digital risk monitoring with some really robust social media guidelines. So our company's rules of engagement, whether it is for internal collaboration and communication or external facing on our social media channels. One of the things we ask everyone to be mindful of, understand your core area of knowledge. What is your area of expertise?
Mhm.
And don't engage across that line. So, being mindful that we're in the mortgage industry, we aren't healthcare professionals, we aren't government regulators, we aren't crafting policy, being mindful of what we know and where we can be most useful and productive.
Excellent. And before we close out here, Jim, let me ask you, as a person that's been involved in cybersecurity for many years and an expert in this field, just in general, cybersecurity right now it's more important that we understand it than ever, or be on our toes, because as we know, when we're vulnerable, that's when criminals can really take advantage of us, and that's when bad things can happen all around. How concerned are you, just in general, when it comes to cybersecurity? Do you feel like this is one of this, I hate to use the word scariest times, but it is a very scary time for everyone, as we're just not certain right now really what's going to happen.
Yeah, Karen, unfortunately, it is. I mean, I think that we're excited here to talk about the story with our partner Atlantic Bay, and how they've really taken a positive moment and been part of a community and helping to be kind of a reliable partner to their customers and sharing the right information. But you've referenced the fact that we're also in a moment when the cyber criminals who are out there, they recognize that the adoption of these platforms have gone up. And not only that, but more and more critical information is present on those platforms. And that's made this, again, be from something that's kind of important to essential in the current environment. So I think it's something that businesses, both small and large, need to take extraordinarily seriously right now. And we view the moment that we're in as the beginning of a new normal, where more and more of our businesses will be virtualized this way.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's going to be really interesting to see, when this is, I hate to say when this is over, but when it slows down or when we start to go back to whatever our new normal will be, what that's going to look like for all of us and, across every industry. Well, Jim, Amanda, I really appreciate you being here with us today. Very interesting to talk to both of you. And it's certainly, this conversation certainly puts into perspective why it's important to have a partnership with one like what you all have here, that you're looking out for the best interest there of Atlantic Bay, and those partnerships are important. So we were glad to have you both here with us today, and we have much more information available, of course, with cybersecurity and everything you need to know on Tech Republic and ZDNet. So we appreciate you guys watching. Thanks, everybody.